Hi, my name is Mia and welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to another video about what it's like to live here in Rota, Spain. After living here for almost 2 years now, we have had quite the mixture of experiences, and today I just kind of want to give you all the tea, all the good, the bad, and the ugly. Of course, take everything that I say with a grain of salt because these are all very much personal experiences, so you might feel very different when you come here. And also we are talking about just Rota, Spain, so a very specific area of Spain, so keep in mind that Spain is a big country, and yeah, you might have a whole different experience in another part of Spain. And also I will be talking from the perspective of my husband, our friends, and me. And yeah, we are mostly Americans, Mexican Americans, and I am German. So that's kind of the cultural lens that we are looking at this country from. Now that we have all the disclaimers out of the way, let me start with the positives, because there is a lot of really good things about life here in Spain. Now, I will list all of these things in no particular order, so I'll just throw some things at you that I find great about living here. And for starters, I love how walkable this city is. There's really no need for you to have a car. Maybe if you want to be faster, then get a bicycle, but everything is very close together. You can walk everywhere. You can walk to the grocery store, you can walk to the beach, you can walk to the military base. Everything is quite close together. And yeah, because of that, there's also not much traffic. But that doesn't just count for Rota, Spain. I've noticed that all over Spain that there is really not much traffic. Like, there's not that many cars, so you never get stuck, which is great. Another really cool thing about Spain is the prices, especially grocery prices here are so low, which just makes it very luxurious for us, because we can pretty much just walk in, not have to look at the prices of anything, and can just grab whatever we want. That's a huge privilege. And yeah, the grocery prices here are much cheaper than they are in America or Germany and other parts of Europe. And of course, we cannot talk about Spain without addressing the weather. It is beautiful here. The weather is always warm year round, sometimes a little too warm for my liking in the summertime, but right now we are in October and it is so nice and so mild, cool sometimes in the morning, but warm still in the afternoons. So there's still a lot of beach days, even throughout the fall, the winter, the spring. It's really nice. And speaking of the beach, the nature here is just stunning. I mean, you have everything from the beach, the mountains, the forest. It is really beautiful here. There's something for everyone, for sure. And also the animals that are here are quite cool. Here in this region specifically, we have chameleons everywhere. We have parrots flying around, but also with the animals, with the good comes a little bit of bad, because there's also a lot of cockroaches here and other big critters. There's huge centipedes, and there's also some scorpions here and there. So yeah, again, there's kind of a flip side. Some animals are great, others I could do without. And lastly, of course, it is great to experience the culture here, the architecture, the music. Spain is a very rich country in terms of culture. They have a lot of holidays that are celebrated all the time. And yeah, it's just interesting seeing older architecture, different architecture. And yeah, the music's quite fun as well. But not everything here is always great. Most of these things are due to culture shock, so it's just something that I'm having a hard time getting used to. And yeah, for the negatives, I'm gonna try to ease into it a little bit. So yeah, starting off with the fact that there are absolutely no jobs available here for foreigners, and there's barely enough jobs for locals here as well, because there's quite a lack of businesses. So yeah, there's way too many people and way too few jobs. And on top of that, the base is a Spanish base, and they have this agreement that 70% of all positions need to be filled by Spaniards. So that doesn't leave a lot for Americans or foreigners in general. So yeah, I haven't had any luck. I've applied to a bunch of positions and I know of a lot of other spouses that are very much struggling here. So if you come to Spain, then be prepared to have a hard time finding work. Another thing that I've noticed, and this might be a little bit nitpicky, but the houses here are quite outdated. When we were first looking for our house to rent here, we have looked at a bunch of houses and we've noticed similar patterns. They, have quite old furniture, they're quite run down a lot of the time. And they're also not very well insulated. So like we always notice hot or cold air coming in through the windows and the doors. So very poorly insulated, which brings up your electricity cost quite a bit if you need to, use a heater or an AC. And also, a lot of things go wrong with these houses too. I guess that comes along with them being so old, but we have repairs coming up every few months, and that's just quite annoying to deal with. There are a lot of new structures being built, so maybe by the time that you come here, you'll be a little more lucky, but at the time that we got here, it was quite hard to find a more modern and well-functioning home. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the next point, but personally, we do not enjoy the food and the customer service here is quite bad as well. Especially if you compare them to American standards. It's a whole different world, but I've made a whole video about it, which I will link for you down below. I have filmed a full day of eating out here in Rota, Spain, and I talk a bit about the experience here as well. And yet another service-related con point that I have found is the mail. So they have quite strange delivering habits here. So most of the time we have found that the mailman does not ring the doorbell. They will either honk their horn or call you on your cell phone, which is quite weird at first. Something to get used to. And then when you get your package delivered, they often ask for a NI number. And if you don't have a NI number, which is like a Spanish personal number, then you need to give your passport number. So just have that somewhere laid out ready to go, so that way whenever you do expect a delivery, you can give the delivery man your number. And also another thing which has been quite frustrating is that mail tends to get lost quite a bit. So my family lives in Germany, so they send us things quite regularly, and a lot of the time those packages get lost or get sent right back to the sender without me ever knowing about it. So that's quite frustrating to deal with and just something to keep in mind. I do have to say though that there has never been any issue when we ordered from Amazon or Nike or bigger brands like that, but especially if a family member is sending you a package or like a smaller company, you might not receive that package is all I'm saying. So that's quite sad that the mail service here is quite unreliable at times. Another thing that we didn't expect before coming here is the very strong accent in which people speak here, which makes it quite hard to understand them, even for native Spanish speakers. My husband grew up speaking Spanish his whole life and he has trouble understanding the people here sometimes, and I would say I'm quite fluent in Spanish as well, but whenever someone tries to talk to me here, I think they speak a whole different language, to be honest. So it takes some getting used to for sure, and just don't be discouraged. If you do know Spanish, then don't doubt your abilities. They just have a very, very strong accent here. They also speak quite fast as well. And other than speaking fast, they also speak very, very loud, even at the most uncomfortable of times. So like very early in the morning or very late at night, you'll hear people yelling across the street, communicating with each other, which has led to a couple of waking nights for us. And they also, a very kind of awkward situation tends to be when they gather in front of your gate, and they just have a conversation right there in front of your gate. They look at your house, And when you try to leave your house, it's quite awkward because they're standing right in front of your gate. And in general, Spaniards seem to be quite unaware of their surroundings from what we've noticed. And again, I just think I have to say this at this point once again. This is not everyone, of course, but it has happened so many times that it is very noticeable and very frustrating for us. Just to see how unaware Spaniards are of their surroundings. And I'm pretty sure they don't mean any harm by it, but it feels quite disrespectful. It feels like, you are invisible and the world just revolves around them because they don't move out of your way. When you go for a walk along the street and people walk in the opposite direction of you and they see you and they will not step aside. So you now have to go onto the street to then cross back onto the sidewalk, and that is quite frustrating. It just feels like they're not aware at all, and it seems quite confrontational at times, but that's just what we personally read into the situation as foreigners. But I mean, in Spain they do that all the time, so I'm sure they don't mean any harm by it. And along with not moving, there's often situation in which you bump into people, or like kids, they kick a soccer ball and they're not aware that you're there and the soccer ball hits you, and they most of the time will just not apologize. They just take it for granted and move on with their day, which to us again is very shocking because I would expect an apology when someone bumps into you or kicks a soccer ball at you, but don't expect that to happen here. And I'm sure it's quite self-explanatory at this point, but Spaniards also don't seem to be aware of what personal space is. So even when you're like in line at the grocery store, people will just stand right behind you, breathing down your neck, and it is very uncomfortable. Or just in general, when you're waiting somewhere, people will just stand right beside you, even though there's a lot of space for them to stand otherwise. And speaking of standing in line, a lot of the time, especially older ladies, they will cut the line at the grocery store. So they will just slide right in front of you. I don't know if that's like an unspoken agreement here in Spain that older ladies just get all the privileges and they can just go, or if those older ladies are just not aware again, or if they're selfish. I have no idea, but it is quite annoying sometimes to deal with that. And sometimes there's not even a line. Sometimes the people will just kind of gather around in like a group, and you don't know where the line begins, so you need to ask ¿Quién es el último? And then the person who came in last will raise their hand or say Soy el último, and then you just kind of wait to go after that person. So that's also quite the thing to get used to. And so if there's no line, just ask who the last person was and then just remember that person to go after them. But the unawareness doesn't just stop at walking or standing in line. It also applies to cars. So it happens all the time that people will just park their car right on the street and just run into a store to run their errands, or they will park their car in front of their house and just start unloading groceries, taking their time and just completely blocking the street for everyone trying to pass. So again, this seems quite rude to us, seems quite selfish, quite unaware, but it seems to be quite common here, and Spaniards don't seem to mind. So we're just trying to do our best to stay calm and take it easy. Next up, we have found that opening times are super unreliable and they basically mean absolutely nothing. And I have also touched on this in the video I mentioned earlier about eating out in Spain. It applies to every institution, not just restaurants, but stores too. That a lot of the time it will say an opening time on their door, but then they just won't be open then. Or maybe someone will only come in at the time that it says they're opening. So be prepared to stand in front of closed doors quite a lot. And lastly, the last thing that we have noticed is that nothing gets done without you continuously asking about it. So this is quite annoying when you try to get things done, when you need some paperwork being done, when you need, your housing inspection in the beginning. They will not let you know anything. So you just have to keep going back there day after day, asking all these questions, because they will not give you any information unless you pull it out of them, which can be, quite daunting, quite frustrating. And it just, be prepared for everything to take a lot longer than you might be used to. All right, that is all I have for you. I just kind of ranted out again. This doesn't apply to every Spaniard. This doesn't apply to every region in Spain. This is just our personal experience. And I know the list of culture shocks is long, but I'm hoping that it'll prepare you better for when you move here, just so you know what's coming your way, just so you're a bit more prepared than us. Maybe your patience is a little bit longer than ours because you knew about it beforehand. If you have any more comments, or maybe you're a Spaniard watching this and might want to explain some things to me, then please leave me a comment in the comments down below. And also leave any video requests, video wishes down in the comments as well. And I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, then please give it a like. If you don't want to miss any of my future videos, then make sure to subscribe as well. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.